Hi everyone, welcome to lesson number 11. So in lesson number 11, we're going to take our first page and we're going to add a little bitty menu system to it, and we're going to work towards starting our second page. So we'll learn about the HTML tag nav, and we'll learn how to use more CSS. So it ought to be fun. What do you think, buddy?
Nice.
Nice? All right, you ready to get started?
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to the Coding Zoo. This is Shane, and I have my son Nicholas with me.
Hello.
And I also have my daughter Jai with me.
Hi.
So this is the 11th lesson of the Coding Zoo. In lesson number 10, we actually finished our first page, and it should be ready to upload to the Coding Zoo. So if you haven't done that yet, please feel free to do that. Go ahead and zip it up and send it to me at anthony.shane.crouch@gmail.com. That's ANTHONY.Shane, SHANE.Crouch, CROUCH@gmail.com. We'd love to put it out on the website and let your friends and family see your work. So this is lesson number 11. In lesson number 11, we're going to start getting ready to create our second web page. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add navigation to our first web page. And if we have time in this lesson, we'll switch over to adding the second page. If not, we'll do that in lesson 12. You guys ready to get started?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so let's go down to our, as usual, go down to your Coding Zoo folder. And right click on, go ahead and double click, go into Coding Zoo. You should see your files from lesson number 10. Right click on index and choose edit with Notepad++. Everybody should be familiar with this already, but just in case, if we had any newcomers, so click on edit with Notepad++. And now we have it index.html open. Okay. You guys ready? All right. Okay, so I have my page open in Notepad++. I'm going to switch over back to my folder. I'm going to double click on the index file, bring it up in the browser, make sure everything looks nice and pretty still. Looks the way I left it. That's great. Okay, back to Notepad++. All right, now that I've got index.html open, let's go ahead and go into our header. Do you remember the header tag where it creates our banner at the top? All right, so I'm going to go down to the header element, and I'm going to put my cursor right to the left of the image tag, press enter to get a new line above it, go to that line. I'm going to add a div surrounding the image and h1 tag. So I'm going to do less than div greater than. Now I'm going to go to underneath my h1 tag there, and I'm going to put the closing tag for my div element. So less than / a slash leaning to the right, div greater than sign. Now I'm going to highlight my image and h1 line. See how it's highlighted, guys?
Yes.
With my mouse. And I'm going to press tab to tab it out and get my spacing just right. You guys got it?
No, I'm so blind I can't find my H1 tag.
Oh.
Okay, so we helped Jai find her H1 tag. She's not quite old enough for coffee, and it's really early in the morning, so I may have to start her on coffee at an early age. What do you think, Jai? You want some coffee? No, I don't think so. It's not too good for you. All right, so let's go ahead. We've got our div surrounding our image element and our H1 element. Next, let's go beneath that div. I'm going to create a line beneath that div. So I'm going to click on the right side of the ending div tag, press enter, and I'm going to put in what's called a nav element. So I'm going to do less than NAV, and then greater than. I'm going to press enter twice. I'm going to put the closing element tag, less than / NAV, close that. Now I have a nav element. The nav element is basically a new HTML5 element used for what do you think it's used for, kids? Nav. Navigation. It's used for navigation, short for navigation. Okay, so let's go inside of the nav element. Let's add our navigation links. If you remember in our previous lessons, we learned that the anchor tag was for links, or the A tag. So let's do less than sign, A, space, href, equals, double quote, / TASK LIST, period, HTML, and then in your double quote. So I have / a slash leaning to the right, TASKLIST.html. Now I'm going to do a greater than sign, and I'm going to put the word task list, TASKLIST. So I have task list, and now I'm going to put my closing anchor tag. So less than / A greater than sign. So I've added a link to my navigation section. Okay, so let's add one more link tag above that link. So let's go to your nav element, the first nav tag. Put your cursor on the right side of it, press enter. That'll create a new line that's above that anchor link, above that link to task list. And let's go ahead and tab out, and let's go ahead and type in the new link. So less than sign, A space href equals, double quote, and put the pound, which is your number 3, shift number 3 for pound, and then put in double quote, and then put a greater than sign, and then put the word home, HOME, and then in your href tag, your anchor tag, do less than / A, and then close the ending tag. So now I have 2 links in my nav section. The first one is an href to pound, which means it's basically going to go nowhere, and it's called home. The second is an href to a file called tasklist.html. Let's go ahead and save that. I'm going to double click on the icons here, or click on the icons here, go back to my folder system, and I'm going to right click on the index.html and choose open with and Google Chrome. So I have 2 links here. One is for home and one is for task list. Do you guys have the 2 links in your browser?
Yes.
So when I open up my page, I have 2 new links there. One is home and one is task list. If you go ahead and click on home, you'll notice it just basically doesn't do anything. It takes you to your home page, your index page. If you click on task list, it takes me to a file that does not exist yet. So that's going to be our second page. We're going to add that either at the end of this lesson or in the next lesson. So I'm going to click my back, go back to the page. All right, so I've got a little navigation links. I really don't like where those links are at. Let's go ahead and move them around some. So let's go back to Notepad++. Okay. let's go ahead and see what these divs look like. So real quickly, I'm going to go ahead and add a style to these divs, to the div and the nav tag. So I'm going to type in style equals inside of that div tag, double quote, border colon 1px space solid solid space. I'm going to use the color yellow since I have a black banner. YELLOW. If you have a different color banner, you might want to use a different colored border, like black or something. All right, in my quotes. So now I have a border around that div. I am going to highlight that whole style tag, right click, choose copy, go down to my nav here, and I'm going to paste it there. Control V to paste, or right click and choose paste. So as I mentioned in our previous lessons, using the style, inline style, usually isn't recommended for bigger web pages. I'm only doing this as a way to see my divs right now. I'm not going to actually leave these here. I'm going to remove these later on. I just want to see what I'm working with. So I'm going to click save. Okay, so let's go to our browser. Click refresh. So on the web page now, you can tell, since we have a border, where your header div begins and ends. It goes all the way across the page here. We couldn't tell for sure. It may have ended right after this letter N. I couldn't tell that the border or that the width goes all the way across. So now we can see that. And that's why I say we're going to put a border on here and then take it away later. We're just using it so we can see what we're working with. If you look at the navigation list, it also goes the entire width of the page. So let's go back to the folder system. Click on your Coding Zoo folder, go back inside of it, go into your CSS subfolder, right click on your styles page, choose edit with Notepad++. We have our style CSS page open and our index.html page open. Let's go back to our index.html page. Look at your header section. We added the div. We added the nav. Your div is above the nav there. Go to the first tag div where it says style equals border 1 pixel. Right? So after that inline style attribute, let's add another attribute. So I'm going to press space CLASS for class equals quote TITLE dash IMAGE in double quote. We now have the attribute class equals title dash image. Let's switch back over. Let's save it. Let's switch back over to our style CSS. Let's go right above the word title there. And let's add a new class. So I'm going to type in dot TITLE dash IMAGE. So I have dot title dash image, the squiggly bracket, close squiggly bracket, press enter. Now I'm going to type in the property with WIDTH colon space, I'm going to say 50%, 50% semicolon. Okay. I'm going to choose to save it. go back to my browser, click refresh, and now I can see that that div is at 50%. So my title and image take up 50% of the width. My navigation takes up the entire width. Let's go ahead and change that. Go back to Notepad++, into the styles.css, and right above title.image, title-image, let's go ahead and add a class for the nav element. So .titleImage is a class name. And that's a class selector. Let's do a element selector because we have an element called nav. So I'm going to do nav NAV space squiggly line, in squiggly line. I'm going to put the cursor in the middle, press enter. I'm going to type in WIDTH colon space 50% sign, which is shift 5 semicolon. Click save, go back to my browser, click refresh, and now I can see both divs are still at 50%. Now, why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing this because I want to put them side by side. And in order for me to put them side by side, I don't want them to both take up the whole page. So now that we have them smaller, let's move them to be side by side. So I'm going to go back to Notepad++. So go into your styles.css and let's go to the Nav Element selector. Okay, put your cursor after the width 50% semicolon, press enter, and then create a new line. Let's type in the word float. As we learned in our previous lesson, float allows us to move these divs around. So I'm going to type in FLOAT colon space, and I want my navigation to float to the right. So RIGHT semicolon. Now I'm going to go down to the title image pair, the title-image class selector. And again, put my cursor after the width, semicolon, press enter, and create a new line, type in FLOAT, and I want the title image to go to the left, LEFT. And save, go back to my browser, click refresh, and there we go. So as we can see, one floated to the left, one floated to the right. However, they're not aligned up side by side. Let's fix that. Let's go back to our CSS page. Okay, let's go ahead and change both of those 50% to 49%. So go to the first 50, type in erase 50, and now type in 49. Go to the next 50, erase the 50, type in 49. Press save, click refresh, and there we go. So now they're side by side. Now there's one thing again here I don't like. If you look at my home and my task list links, they're kind of in the middle of the page. I really want them to float to the far right. So I don't really think I need that nav section to be that wide. So I'm going to get rid of that with property with attribute on the nav section. So go back to the CSS. Okay. Go to your nav class, go to your nav element selector, and let's go ahead and erase that width. I'm going to delete that whole line. Click save. Go back over here to the browser and click refresh. And there we go. Now it's on the right. All right. Let's go back to our Notepad++. Let's go to the index.html page. So let's remove the style attribute on the div and nav. We have the class attribute there. Let's go ahead and get rid of the style attributes that stands for borders. So I'm going to get rid of style on the div. Highlight that, press backspace. And I'm going to go to the nav, get rid of that host style attribute, highlight it, press backspace, go click save, go to my browser, click refresh, and there we go. So we have our title and image on the left, and we have our navigation on the right. So I have a black background, and right now my links are kind of a bluish or purple color. That doesn't look too pretty. So let's change that. You may have different colors on yours. Let's go ahead and still change your links to whatever color you'd like them to be. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and change the color. Go back to your styles.css page, and underneath the nav element selector, let's create a new selector. So I'm going to press enter, and we're going to type this real quickly. If I go too fast, just be sure to stop the video, and you can see on the screen what exactly I typed. So, you ready, guys? Ready? Okay. Type in NAV. So I'm going to select the nav element. This is a element selector. Space. And inside of the nav element, I'm going to select the anchor tag. So A. So I'm typing NAV space A. That tells CSS is basically saying I want to select the nav element, and inside the nav element I want the anchor tag. So I've got nav space A space. Actually, I'm going to delete that space. Press colon and type in LINK space, squiggly bracket, close squiggly bracket, my cursor in the middle, start a new line, and now I can add a property to that class selector, color, COLOR, colon, space YELLOW. You can use whatever color you like, semicolon, press enter to go to the next line. So I just set the color to yellow. The next line, I'm going to put text dash decoration. I'm going to get rid of the underline that's on those links by saying no decoration. TEXT dash DECORATION colon and type in none for no decoration. NONE semicolon. Okay. So we have nav space A. So we're going to the nav element. We're finding the anchor element inside the nav element. And for the link, we're setting it to color yellow. Link stands for an unvisited link. So an unvisited link would be the color yellow with no text decoration. All right, let's go ahead, and I'm going to left click, and I'm going to highlight that whole class selector. And I'm going to right click and choose copy. And I'm going to go below this class selector, and I am going to press Control V or right click and choose paste. And now I have that class selector in there twice. We don't need to link. So of course we don't need duplicates. Let's go ahead and change the second one we just copied to, let's change the word link to a different word. Let's change it to visited. VISITED. So now I have a class selector for nav A link and nav A visited. Visited means this would be the color of that link when it's been visited before. And we're just going to keep it yellow. We're going to keep them both the same color, but you could make it a different color if you like. All right, so again, let's go down to below that section and create a couple lines. And we just copied the nav link, it's still in our copy buffer. So let's press Control V or right click and choose paste and copy that nav link section again. So now I have nav link, nav visited, and I have nav link again. Let's get rid of the word link on that third one. And let's type in hover. H-O-V-E-R. So now I have a nav a link, nav a visited, and a nav a hover. So for my hover, I want it to be a different color. I'm going to use the color orange. Why not? Be a little different. You can use whatever color you like. And let's go create one more. So I'm going to add a couple lines underneath that nav a hover. And again, we still have that nav a link in our copy buffer. I'm going to press Control V or right click and choose paste. And now I have the nav link again. I'm going to get rid of the word link and I'm going to choose the word active. A-C-T-I-V-E. And I'm going to change that color to, why not gray? G-R-A-Y. Yeah, we'll do gray. Click Save. So I have a nav a link, a nav a visited, a nav a hover, and a nav a active. Go back to my browser. And if you look at my screen before you refresh, you'll see how I had the underline on the screen on these links, and I had the different colors. Let's click refresh, and now they're both yellow. And if I hover over home, it turns orange. Hover over task list, it turns orange. Looking at home and task list, they are now both yellow in my case. And if I hover over one of them, it turns to orange. And now that I see that, I realize that's probably not the best color, but I'll change that later. So there are a couple of main things I don't like about this. One is the words are too small, and they're also kind of cluttered together. So let's change that. Let's go back to the styles.css. Okay, in my nav section, so not the nav A, but the nav section. Go beneath the float and type in font, F-O-N-T, dash size, S-I-Z-E, and I'm going to put space 20 px semicolon. Okay. Click Save. Go back to my browser, click Refresh. And now my links are a little bit bigger. Maybe even too big. So I'm going to go back, change that to 18. And there's also not enough space around it. So change it to 18. And now I'm going to go down to nav a link underneath text decoration. I'm going to go to the non-semicolon, put my cursor there, press enter, create a new line, and I'm going to type in padding, P-A-D-D-I-N-G, colon, and space 5px, semicolon. I'm going to take that line, I'm going to highlight it by left-clicking and moving my mouse. Once I have it highlighted, I let go of my left button, right-click, choose copy. I'm going to go down to nav a visited, add a new line after text decoration, paste it there, go down to hover, text decoration, add a new line after that, paste it there, go down to active, the text decoration line, press enter, add a new line there, and paste it there. And I'm going to click Save, click Refresh. There we go. So now they're spaced out more. and they're a little bit bigger. Okay, so that's it for this lesson, guys. We have added a nav section to our first page, and we've put some styling around that to give it whatever color we like and give it the right spacing. In our next lesson, we are going to go ahead and create this task list page and start working on that page. So with the task list page, we're going to get into actually using not only HTML and CSS, but we're also going to get into JavaScript a little bit. So we're going to see how all three work together. What do you think, guys?
Good.
Looks good? Cool? All right. So we hope you like this lesson. If you have any questions, leave some comments below. We'd love to hear back from you. If you haven't already, go ahead and click subscribe and click that bell to get alerts on when our new lessons come out. And if you like this lesson, please click like. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Say bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey, buddy. How are ya?
Hi.
You gotta speak louder, buddy.
Hi.
Speak louder, boy.
Hi.
Say hi.
Hi.
Louder now.
No.
Is that louder?
My cheek.
Huh?
My cheek.
Your cheek, boy.